Hi, I'm Michael Killen. Poetry enriches our lives, especially if you write. Ekabhumi.
Little Green Peas. If the sun were the size of a big screen TV, Earth would be the size of a little green pea. It would take about 2 minutes to walk from that sun to this Earth at about 4 times the speed of light. Now, if that pea were the size of the Pentagon, Oakland, California would be the size of a science fiction novel. And if that novel were the size of Mount Sinai, where the commandments were handed down, then I would be the size of a pea. I'm feeling kind of small and green and squishy today. My thoughts are moving at 4 times the speed of light. So fast I'm time traveling and shape shifting. I'm a half-baked green pea walking down a perfectly normal sidewalk in America of the recent past. Nobody notices I'm green. They all look a little green themselves. Quaint newspaper stands are filled with antique headlines. Some baseball star just hit 64 home runs. The price of power is up. Back then, President Bush, he was still just a joke, and he says, "We need more power. Maybe we'll import it from Mexico." My mind is at warp 11, and my consciousness is beaming into other people's bodies. Who put this funny green paper in my back pocket? This is not my beautiful wife. I don't know how to fly this thing. Who's that guy in the suit? Mr. President, I have some urgent news. I'm in a nice restaurant with an incredible view. I look up from the Wall Street Journal and there's a jumbo jet. I'm covered in sweat and running up the stairs with an axe and a respirator in my hands. The building begins to shake. I'm trapped in a posh office punching an emergency code into my wrist computer. The Batcopters left the Batcave on autopilot, but events are unfolding too quick. This wasn't in the comic book script. There are no bad guys left to kick. How could I have missed it? I've got bat satellites so sensitive they can see evil intent. If I leap out the window without my bat cape, I'll hit the ground and splat in 7.8 seconds like an overcooked pea. I reach for my bat wallet, but the law of gravity no longer accepts Bruce Wayne's credit. Where the heck was Superman? I just planted an American flag on the 4th moon of Jupiter and claimed it for truth, justice, and the American way. I just kicked some alien butt, now Ganymede is safe for petrochemical exploration. An SOS just arrived from the Justice League, but 20 minutes too late. Where was the Incredible Hulk? I'm standing in a corner in Oakland, California, staring slack-jawed at a television set. An invisible monster is trampling New York, but I am unable to get angry. Ever since the court order anger management course, the corporate job, and the Prozac, I haven't felt much of anything at all. I'm green all right, but I'm feeling kind of small and green and squishy today. I reach for my wallet and pull out my driver's license to see how I will appear tomorrow. Tomorrow when America is at war and thousands more died needlessly. When this country is 476 zillion miles from the center of the universe, much less the galaxy, and only a Superman could grasp this number and make it make sense. Halfway home, just past the orbit of Mars. I get it. America ain't the center of the universe and nowhere near it. But I'm too late this time. Too late to save my comic book nation from growing up the hard way.
Thank you. Wonderful, Ekabhumi.
Thank you very much, sir.
Have a seat. You know, it amazes me that you can stand up there with so much excitement, always on beat, and share such great wisdom. And I'd like to ask, how did you get the idea for this poem?
Well, normally poets respond to news events. They respond to things that happen, and you can wait a week or two or sometimes even a couple of days. And I run a regular poetry event, as you know, and they'll show up with new poems about the event. And what was really remarkable after 9/11 is that nobody wrote any poems. They were all too stunned. And so I wanted to write something to address the issue. We have this big audience, and I felt like it just needed to be said. The poetry reading was actually held on September 12th. And the people who showed up that night said that they didn't even want to talk about it. Yeah. And so we didn't have any theme stuff that night. They just wanted to have the regular art event and be with people. But the next week, I wanted to write about the surreal quality of that, the feeling of watching it on TV, and you kept expecting Batman to come swinging in or Superman to come flying in, and it never happened, and I wanted to convey that feeling of helplessness.
You wrote this poem right after 9/11?
Yeah.
You know, I find that amazing because most people were in shock for weeks.
People hated me for the poem for a long time. That poem actually became, I mean, I got booed for it for like the first year. And it wasn't until later that people really enjoyed the piece.
And how'd you feel when you were writing it?
It felt really liberating for me. It gave me a profound sense of peace. It gave me something to wrap my mind around.
Okay. When you're writing a poem,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a framework in your mind, principles,
Oh,
methodology?
No, and everybody's writing method is different. This is just what works for me. I like to just kind of regurgitate the ideas. Sometimes they'll gel in my head for even a couple of years, and then all of a sudden, out comes the poem. I only bring structure to it later, like somebody mining for diamonds. I'll just write, and then I'll go back and try and find the refrain, try and find the structure, try and find the thread of it, and reorganize it into something coherent for anyone else to read.
And you know when it's done.
Yeah, there's a point, and this took many years of writing. It used to be I never had a poem finished, but now there's a certain kind of a ring, a feel to it that it gels.
Do you try to write in such a way that there's some clear message that you may have, but when others listen or read it, they may come up with their own?
The poem I'm going to do at the end of the show today is a really good example of that. The poem was meant to be very serious. It came to me as a complete finished unit in a dream. I woke up and wrote it down, and to me it was this very serious poem about transformation. And then I read it in front of an audience at the encouragement of a fellow poet. He encouraged me to read it. I didn't think it would work. And they started laughing. I was kind of hurt inside. I was like, don't they get it? And I was a mature enough performer at the time that I recognized that a performance is a conversation. It's like a dance. And if somebody wants to do the foxtrot and they're 300 times bigger than you, big audience, you do the foxtrot. And so they were laughing, and so I played it up as comedy, and it worked.
All right. I'd like to ask my staff to get ready to bring up some photos, but before they bring them up, I want to ask, there's this organization called the Individual World Poetry Slam.
An event, yes.